My name is Johanna Forsman. I am the CEO and co-founder of an innovation company called Velodrome. And I'm here to talk about our travel and reading app called Story Tourist. And I would like to ask for your help because I have been invited to talk about this in Copenhagen at the Scandinavian Executive Publishing meeting on next Thursday. And I'm going to test my speech for you. That's my plan. So if you have any sort of feedback, good or bad, I would really appreciate that. Okay, so I finished this last night, so I have a lot of notes. So I'm sorry if I don't look up at you as much as I should. I know a lot of people are very disappointed with the year 2016. But I still want to say that I'm really happy to be alive in this day and age. Because this is the age of the nerds. And not nerds who lock themselves up in their rooms and revel in the fact that they're better and smarter than everyone else. But nerds that continue to strive to turn their knowledge into tools that are more accessible, more democratic, and more usable for everyone. And I know that we pay for it in covert ways with our information and our attention. But I still find it amazing that I can walk around with a printing press, a music studio, a film editor, and a direct link to everyone I've ever met in my pocket. I'm breathing. I can hear myself breathing. This is better? Cool. So the term nerd, as you all know, is widening and being claimed by knitters and car collectors alike as a statement to up the value of their hobbies and the credibility. And crafts and fandoms are being crossbred and shared in really inclusive and collaborative ways. And as for me, I'm not a tech nerd doing books, I'm a book nerd doing tech, with a little help from my friends. When I was 15, I did what most teenagers do. I started a Kafka book club. And we began with reading the novel The Trial, and I didn't get it. Probably because you have to be older than 15. But it really annoyed me. So I started thinking about how could I get under the skin of this novel and get to know the story world behind it. And I thought maybe I should go to Prague. Maybe I should visit these places and actually read the book on location. And I kept this idea with me for a number of years. And later I met Andreas Jansson, who is my partner in business and every other sense of the word. And I wanted to show him my idea. So we booked a trip to Berlin. And we brought a copy of Christopher Isherwood's Goodbye to Berlin with us. And I would prepare story tours for him. And I would say, go to Nollendorfplatz, find a bench, and read page 9 to 11. So he could be at the very place where the action happened while reading. And we thought, what a great way to read, and what a great way to travel. When we moved to Malmö, I became really interested in the concept of transmedia. And as some of you might know, Skåne is a sort of transmedia hub in Sweden. And this idea that you don't have to separate art into very strictly defined fields. You can start by creating a universe or story world. And transmedia has been defined by Henry Jenkins as storytelling across multiple forms of media, with each element making distinctive contributions to a viewer, user, player's understanding of the story world. By using different media formats, it attempts to create entry points through which consumers can be immersed in a story world. So for instance, if Vincent van Gogh had been a transmedia artist, he might have cut off his ear as a performance piece, painted the famous portrait with his bandaged head, and written a cookbook where the secret ingredients was ear. The transmedia rulebook also suggests that a story should not be forcefully adapted to any and all media formats just for the sake of it, but be allowed to take the form that best suits that particular story in a meaningful way. So for me, coming to the realization that this reading and experiencing books on location idea that I had been harboring ought to be an app was never a question of doing tech for the fun of tech, but a story finally finding its ultimate form. We always knew that there were two separate areas where this idea might have a great impact. And on one hand, we saw great commercial potential for the tourism market. And on the other, we felt like this could be a social innovation to increase literacy and, as an added bonus, make reading a physical activity, magically combining two of the issues that adults are most worried about with kids today. So we found a partnership with Malmö City Library, and we did a literacy project founded by the Swedish Arts Council, where we started to explore the social and creative opportunities of this concept. And we learned a lot that we could take with us when we turned our attention to the commercial aspects and created the Story Tourist app that I'm going to present to you now. So the Story Tourist app is a unique way to travel and experience books at the very locations where the action takes place. It's a kind of Pokemon Go for stories, if you will. We turn books and other stories into treasure hunts in the city, the forest, or wherever the storyline might take us, creating experiences where the world around you becomes a playground for your imagination. You can travel and discover new aspects of the story world and find out what your favorite places from literature sound, look, taste, and feel like. With the Story Tourist app, you can read on location and listen to audio tracks that describe and enhance your surroundings. And we want to make reading an even more immersive experience, so we're adding playful augmented reality effects that sparks imagination and makes literature more accessible and fun. You can also share your experience on social media. We're hard at work developing and plan to launch the app for both Android and iPhone next spring. And we have been shortlisted for Booksellers Book Tech Company of the Year award. And we'll be pitching for the title at the Future Book Conference on the 2nd of December in London. And you're very, very welcome to support us by following us on social media. Now, chances are that some of you already are story tourists. Have you ever chosen to read a novel instead of a travel guide when planning a trip? Or traced an author's footsteps and guesstimated where they might have lived? Or visited 221B Baker Street? Cultural and fiction tourism is a growing market, and the film and television industries have started to research and capitalize on the tourism value being created when a city or region is featured on screen. For example, the Euroscreen project found that the social media attention surrounding the film Notting Hill and the iconic Blue Door generated free marketing for London tourism that was equivalent to at least 24.9 million euros in online ads annually. And the film is 15 years old. And we believe that literature fans are just as curious about the locations where their favorite story takes place. And although there hasn't been any big studies about reading tourism, it is a thriving community and a growing market. And while we started with literature, in the future, we would like to develop the app to host all sorts of stories, from film and television to games, podcasts, journalism, music. As long as there's a geographic connection, we want to make a story tour from it. When doing the literacy project with Malmö City Library, we found that fantasizing about specific locations served as one of those great restrictions that make creating writing, easier and less daunting. So we're also developing a publishing platform where anyone will be able to transform their short stories into real-life treasure hunts in the Story Tourist app. And we're looking at a business model where not only the published authors, but also the best amateur writers will get an opportunity to share in the profits. So as you can hear, we have these two sides of the business, a commercial and a social. And we want to be the go-to travel app for literature fans and people who want a unique and immersive tourist experience, and the go-to tech partner for authors and publishers who want to benefit from the tourism market that their loyal fans are already creating. But we also want to create amazing tool for literacy projects, and make sure that new generations of readers and writers find their way to the wonderful world of literature. One of our greatest breakthroughs came this March when we hired our developer Samuel Johansson. He has autism spectrum disorder. He's a very amazing programmer. He's taught us a lot. And as part of our social entrepreneurship, we would love to work with more neurodivergent people because we find it's a great shame that their talents are not appreciated to their full value. And another big break for us came with the release of Pokemon Go, because it used to be a really uphill climb to describe what we wanted to do. The GPS, treasure hunts, augmented reality, how it could make reading into a physical activity. But now we can just say it's like Pokemon Go for stories, and most people say, ah. In fact, the whole transmedia concept is at least partly inspired by the Japanese marketing strategy media mix, which spread to the Western world in the 90s with the launch of Pokemon, among other things. So thank you, Nintendo. We can learn a lot from games, and I think that's why the term gamification is being used in everything from healthcare to advertising. In the future, we would love to redevelop the Story Tourist technology to create an app for outdoor teaching. So any school subject can become a physical activity. You can walk in the footsteps of history, you can measure angles of buildings, analyze the chemical compounds of the nearest lake. And I want to finish by saying that I find it a reassuring thought that the same annoyance and eagerness to learn that I felt at 15, trying to understand Kafka, is being felt right now by people all over the world. And they are already hard at work solving your future problems that you don't even know you'll have. So you don't have to be an expert in everything. You don't have to understand every single piece of new technology. You can find partners who do and concentrate on doing the things that you're good at. And that's what we plan to do. And with that, I want to invite you to become story tourists and start traveling through fiction.